Thank you. Fine Gael have been working overtime to rebuild the party's rather tattered reputation in respect of both fiscal prudence and particularly in respect of economic competence. But unfortunately, Minister, I don't think the summer economic statement meets either of those requirements. In fact, I think the summer economic statement, rather like last year's summer economic statement, will join and create another document which seeks to present the best possible aspect of a situation which at the moment is outside your level of competence, is outside your level of control because of Brexit, and which really does pose very serious challenges to Ireland. And really, we don't know whether Ireland is going to get lucky and there will be some form of soft Brexit. We no more than, being able to make out the leading contenders in the British Prime Minister race, what their life is like. We can't really make out what's going to happen to Britain in terms of the decisions they will take on Brexit. This is a budget package that looks forward to 2.8 billion with 700 million for new measures. And we've no commitment from you, Minister, as the Minister for Finance, on how much of this you foresee as being available for tax cuts. I don't even know if you yourself want tax cuts, but what I do know is that the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar wants tax cuts because he keeps referencing them here as his go-to budget economic lift. There's no detail on how much of additional resources will be spent in a no-deal, disorderly exit in terms of Brexit, and we've no information about or speculation about likely commitments from the European Union for additional resources, additional funding to support Ireland in the event of a hard Brexit. I think it's clear that income tax cuts in this scenario should be actually ruled out, and the 700 million in additional measures should be committed to public services. I think that would be both prudent and appropriate. We have really high pressures in health, home care, supports for carers, the education system, childcare, and above all, we have an ongoing crisis in terms of housing and the affordability of rent. I have the Minimum Essential Economic Standard of Living Report 2019 from the Vincentian Partnership, a really key document in terms of what families require, whether in rural Ireland or urban Ireland. And that document records that a one-bedroom flat anywhere in Dublin, in the cheapest area even, is going to cost more than €1,000 a month. In fact, it's going to cost about €1,125. That's what we're living with. And this document is not even prepared to consider that crisis. The document is surprisingly light on detail. Really, in a way, I've described last year's one as being a novel. And actually, the subsequent ending of the novel wasn't great because, as we know, by the time the actual budget arrived, you had to resort to finding money down the sofa to bail out the health service yet again because your government is unable to manage the finances of the health service. You're telling us already, you've been more honest than last year in that sense, that the plan will change substantially in September. We know that based on last year. So what we have in the announcement today is that no matter what type of Brexit we face, that we're going to proceed on the budget plan, but we don't know if there will be a supplementary estimate or special budget for exceptional measures if the UK crashes out. I think that's a really simple question. Nobody here wants the UK to crash out, but it's a very realistic possibility that they will. And it's a reasonable question to ask you, What happens then, and what's the parameter of the figures? You're saying wait till after September. Maybe wait till after you've stood up on budget day. But I can't see why you shouldn't actually deal honestly with the Dáil. You should not rule out a special Brexit budget. If more is decided to be spent, there will be additional supplementary estimates needed. So what's Fine Gael trying to pretend? We know that 500 million was allocated to the rainy day fund this year, and 500 million will be put in again for next year. But what of the rainy day fund in a hard Brexit scenario? And a hard Brexit, I think, would be a rainy day. But the way you have actually created that legislation, it's not clear that that's really what it would be available for. Would we need the EU to actually declare the rainy day? I'm not sure what would happen. So will the rainy day fund be used in a disorderly Brexit? I think that's a reasonable question, and I think you as Finance Minister should show responsibility and answer it. The extra cash for the Children's Hospital and the broadband plan. There's a little bit of very clever accounting that accountants do all the time. It's quite an Orwellian use of what's called an expenditure reserve for spending that you know will happen. So what we know you're going to do is you're setting aside from now on 200 million a year in a special reserve to meet the holes in the finance for the Children's Hospital and for the National Broadband Plan. This will be 200 million extra a year that the government will have sneaked in to avoid the constant embarrassment of the overruns in both. And again, this will be ultimately capital investment, but that hasn't been made clear today. Like, you're actually back to Brian Cowen in health when he could not distinguish for quite a period of time because of the financial embarrassment between capital and revenue expenditure. And the health service of the time didn't seem to be able to do it either. So we're going back to that now again. There's no commitment in the summer economic statement to a Christmas bonus. And some people might say this is quite a technical item because traditionally the Christmas bonus is provided for out of current resources because budgets traditionally were either at the end of the year or early in the new year. The Fiscal Advisory Council did take issue with this and said it's an in-year spending increase and therefore properly and in terms of the time spans it should actually be provided for. Last year it was a supplementary estimate. There were supplementary estimates overall of 1.3 billion. But there's no provision now for the Christmas bonus in terms of the summer economic statement. The summer economic statement is actually silent. So there's two things here, Minister. You are going to pay the Christmas bonus, which I think, I hope, and I recommend you ought to pay, or you're going to actually, like Fianna Fáil did 10 years ago or more, you're actually going to abolish the Christmas bonus, which we then had to reinstate. Now, which is it to be? That is, again, a profoundly reasonable question to which I think, as the Dáil, we deserve an answer. I assume the answer is you're going to find that money out of what's available in November when the surge of self-employment tax payments come in. But why not just share that with us now and be honest about it? I mean, it's an incompetently devious attempt to basically think you can pull the wool over some people's eyes pretty much all the time and that you'll give the average taxpayer a little pat on the head and say everything is all right, and in any event I've the rainy day fund in my back pocket here, and should anything go wrong it's all going to turn out all right on the night. It is the intellectual equivalent of the famous soft landing that Fianna Fáil promised as the boom turned to dust. It was a soft landing everywhere, and in fairness, everybody wished for a soft landing. There were a number of people who said differently, that it wouldn't be a soft landing. If the banks failed in Ireland, it would be a total disaster for the country. So, Minister, are you going to actually level with the Dáil? Level with the Dáil. You write book reviews a lot. And some of the book reviews that you write in various papers suggest you have an intense, detailed interest in economics, both practical and theoretical. I make a point of reading them, and I commend you on them. It's great that a finance minister has the time to write book reviews, but can you please, actually this time, write or amend to an honest summer economic statement?